I'm Josh with Waupaca Community Media, and we're talking COVID-19, the topic on everyone's minds. We've got Aaron Jensen from the City of Waupaca, Jed Wolt with Waupaca County Public Health, and Terry Schultz from the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Hello.
And we've been hearing about this since early March, and we just want to get people up to date with what's going on, learn a little bit about what's going on locally, and just some reminders as things have changed with this. And before we got going with the interview, Jed had just the biggest, simplest, most common sense piece of advice. And what is that?
Well, I think the first thing to keep in mind is if you're feeling sick, if you have symptoms, please stay home. So number one is if you're feeling any type of symptoms that are COVID symptoms, stay home, check with your doctor, get tested if you need to. I just want to reiterate, please don't go out if you have symptoms.
And you've been hearing stories of people with symptoms being out and about, and that's something we don't want to hear.
Right. Yeah, we've heard a little bit about that, and that's certainly something that we do not want to hear.
So over the past couple months, we've been hearing a lot of tips about helping to prevent the spread. Some of those messages have been consistent the past couple months. Some have changed. What are a couple of the main tips that people should remember when they're leaving their household?
Well, I think that, the ones you've all heard, socially distance, as much as you can. You want to social distance, keep that 6-foot buffer. If you're going to be out and you think there might be occasions where you can socially distance, make sure you have a mask available and wear your mask. Really what we're saying now is when you go out in public, wear a mask. You're protecting everybody else when you're wearing a mask. And if we can, if everybody can do that while they're out, I think we're going to see some improvement.
And there's two ways to look at these safety measures. One, protecting yourself, but then there's protecting the spread. And there are many people that have been spreading this that don't know they're sick. So that's, the other big part of all this.
Yep. So that's the other thing. We know that you can be asymptomatic and carry it. So that's why, you definitely want to wear a mask, even if you're not symptomatic, and if you're gonna go out in public and be around other people, that's what we would recommend.
So there's a couple reasons we commonly go out into public, and one of those is to visit businesses, whether it's grocery shopping, getting gas, maybe dining out. That's a big reason we're all leaving our homes, aside from going to work. And Terry, what are you hearing from businesses? What are some of the tips? What's going on? Because each business might be doing something different. Some may ask for a mask before coming in. Some they may not care about that requirement. Some have hand gel at the front. Or what's going on locally?
Well, and I think that's the hard part. You don't really know what to expect. Everybody's kind of got their own guidelines in place, and some might be asking you to wear a mask. They only want so many people in their shop at a time. So I guess what we're asking is that people just respect those wishes. If somebody is asking you to wear a mask to go into their business, please respect that. If somebody wants to only limit, 5 shoppers in their store at a time, respect that. Go to another shop, come back. But they're trying to do their best. They need to follow guidelines too that have been set. And so I think the majority of our business owners are trying to follow those guidelines. But you have to remember, this is their living, this is their bread and butter. And so if you can respect what they're asking, that really goes a long way in helping them with their business and helping our community in the long run.
And if those business owners or employees get sick, then there's no business to visit too. So that's another way to look at it.
That's absolutely true.
So as we get into July here, we've got the 4th of July, we've got other holidays coming up. It's nice weather out. People want to get together. They want to gather. And we know locally a lot of the big summer events have been canceled because of that kind of deter large gatherings, but people are still going to get together. And Aaron, what are some of the things you're hearing around the city about people getting together or gatherings, or what advice do you have about that?
Yeah, well, Josh, we expect people over this 4th of July weekend. We know there's going to be gatherings of some sort. It's a time where people see family. It's whether it's cooking outside or whatever families decide to do. We understand that people will be getting together probably during this weekend. We just ask that in an effort to make sure that we don't come out of this weekend in a week or 2 weeks later with higher numbers of daily cases try to be as smart as you can during those gatherings. Try to follow every CDC guideline that you can. I think it's what is it, cdc.gov? All those guidelines can be found. Jed, is that correct?
Yep.
And, Jed's already talked on the social distancing, the mask wearing, and how all of that can help and does help. So just make sure you're being conscious of that, because it's not just about you getting sick. And I know some of us maybe aren't worried about getting sick, but I think all of us can say, well, we don't really want to get somebody else sick, especially somebody who is extremely worried about it. And I think that's kind of the mindset that I try to take whenever I go somewhere. It's more about the other people than it is about myself. And I think if we all take that approach, we'll be in a very good place. I'm going to speak to mass gatherings a little bit. I'm fortunate enough to get on at least 2 phone calls a week with Jed, and Jed, this is the third. This is an awesome week. And we talk about mass gatherings quite a bit. And it's kind of funny when you say in the beginning of this whole thing, it was 10 people and then 50 people. And then you talk about 250 people and you're like, well, 250 people, what's the point of not having, what's really the difference? 250 people is a lot of people. Well, when you think about it, there are right now, let's say there's 100 and plus active cases, 110, 115 active cases in the county, or not active cases in the county. Maybe only 20 or 30 of them are active because some are recovered. Well, the chances of somebody at an event with 100 people having it is, might be minimal, but the chances of somebody at an event with 1,000 people or 2,000 people is now all of a sudden that goes up a bunch. And how much does it spread within that event of 1,000 or 2,000 people? We have a lot of our events canceled. And when I say we, not the city, but events that happen in our area are canceled throughout August, such as the triathlon, such as, this weekend, 4th of July stuff, right? Where streets are usually lined for 4th of July parade. And a lot of those events have well over 1,000 people. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So the likelihood of something spreading at something like that is much greater than an event of 300. They're not the same, is I guess the point I wanted to get across. And Jed, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but and that's just a little bit of an explanation maybe as why you see some of the things you do here.
I never thought of it that way. I always thought about more how fast it could spread, but the likelihood of having someone there, that makes a lot of sense. I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Aaron.
I was going to say the other thing is, because this is a big holiday weekend, there are a lot of people that are traveling from outside the area. So it's not just our community, it's those people coming to our community. And don't get me wrong, we want them to come here, but because there's people from outside the area, that also makes that probability a wider probability, I guess is what I want to say.
Right. Yeah, so I guess, Josh, I think probably to sum it up, we just want people to be careful this weekend. We want them to be smart. We want them to take other people into consideration. We want them to respect our businesses and the choices that they've made, because the choices that they're making, if they're requiring you to wear masks and that, it's just to keep you safe and it's to keep their employees safe. And how can you argue with that, right? So I think that kind of wraps up.
I think one thing we need to remember is, even though everything's kind of opened up a lot more than it was a month, 2 months ago, the danger of COVID-19 did not go away. It's the same danger. It's still here. And, I appreciate the three of you joining today for this interview to talk about some of the things to keep in mind and some of the information going on. Hopefully our residents, are reminded and continue to be mindful about this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, Josh.
Thank you.
And happy July 4th.
Yes. Happy 4th, everybody.